Hello internet, my name's Lave, I watched Dad's Army and now I'm going to tell you what I thought about it. Okay, I'm going to put my hands up and say that I'm not the biggest fan of the original British sitcom. I've obviously seen a few episodes, I know who the characters are, but I'm not a die-hard fan of it. It's just a sitcom of its generation and that generation absolutely love it. When they announced that they were going to make this, I was weirdly overprotective and like, no, they shouldn't do it. No, what are they doing? No, it messed it all up. But then the second trailer got released and I've got to admit, I was like, oh my god, they might actually pull this off. But no, I came out of the cinema, I just felt a little bit underwhelmed. Oh. The biggest problem for me is just wasn't funny enough. I was expecting this to be a lot funnier than it was. There were a few moments in it where I chuckled, but it wasn't kind of laugh out loud funny. It was more like... I would say it took a good 50 minutes to an hour for this film to get a laugh out of me, and then it did kind of pick up from there. I do think it's a case of most of the best jokes being ruined by the trailers. Now don't get me wrong, there are moments to enjoy in this film. As I say, I'm not the biggest fan of the original series, but I did get some of the nods and references to it. There's a neat moment where a German officer is using a map and he's moving the arrow of the swastika, much like the opening title sequence of the originals. And I liked how they introduced the characters in the same fashion as how they closed each episode. I'm sure there's a ton of other references which kind of just went over my head. As I said, I'm not the biggest fan. Speaking of the characters, they have cast it really well. That's probably the film's unique selling point, is that it's got a brilliant cast. And the majority of them do a really good job. They're not just carbon copies of characters we know. They have put their own interpretations on them. Perhaps the best way to describe it is that they play recognisable versions of them. For example, Toby-Jones' Captain Mainwaring isn't quite as pompous. All of his other characteristics are there, but it's a softer version of Arthur Lowe's interpretation. Tom Courtenay plays Corporal Jones more straight up. He's not as eccentric as Clive Dunn's version. Pike is played by Blake Harrison, who was Neil in The Inbetweeners, who essentially is playing Neil from The Inbetweeners. Bill Nighy is good as Sergeant Wilson, the laid-back womanizer, although I could have done without his Bill Nighy snorts. Easily the best character for me was Michael Gambon's Godfrey.
Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, I love him. He's just kind of there, doesn't really know what's going on, and he's just really funny. Unfortunately, they're all let down by a really weak script. It just wasn't funny enough. In fact, it feels like they've got the basic premise. There's a German spy and the platoon have got to figure out who it is, while at the same time they get called up into a larger part of the war. I think it's called Operation Fortitude, which was actually a real thing. That actually leads to some good jokes and some good set pieces. But then it feels like they haven't returned to the script and fleshed it out with some good jokes. It just feels like a missed opportunity, and with such a great cast, it could have been good. In fact, just out of curiosity, I researched who the writers were, and one of them, Hamish McColl, now he was also a writer on Paddington. Now, funny enough, Paddington and Dad's Army, there are some parallels there. They're both trying to remake beloved characters from the past and make it relevant today. Paddington succeeded because it embraced the silliness and just made it really fun. It was full of jokes, and it just feels like Dad's Army didn't really commit to it, which really pains me to say. So that's my thoughts on Dad's Army, and pause the video now if you want to check out my enjoyment tracker. I think if you're a fan of the originals, there probably are some moments of nostalgia there to enjoy, but it just didn't hit the mark for me. Such a shame. Thanks very much for watching. If you liked the video, like it. If you didn't like it, dislike it. Either way, tell me in the comments. No, don't tell him, Pike. Subscribe.